Hello everyone and welcome back to Football Manager 2021 and the third part of this experiment where we're taking a look at what would happen if a non-league team had a perfect shell. They had the best facilities, 150,000 fans a week, and when we left off last time we had pretty much ended the experiment by that point. And as you can see, they become the yo-yo team, the modern day West Bromwich Albion, just bouncing in and out of the Premier League and Championship every other season. And they've recently just had a few years in the Championship, one after another, finishing fifth last time out and not really being able to break any further beyond that. But at the end of the last episode, I had a kind of unsatisfied feel from the experiment. I thought, you know what, we're going to give them one big last push because I want to see Brackley really achieve some success, because when we gave the non-league team £1 billion, we ended up in a similar position. When we've given them the perfect facilities, we've ended up in the same position. So why not do both? And that's exactly what we've done. When you go into the club details here, we've racked everything back up to the maximum, but we've also given them £900 million to spend. So there is no excuse for not winning every trophy known to man. So what we'll do is just go forward. I don't think we'll need to go very far forward. I think we should see a satisfying end to this experiment now, but we'll just go forward a couple of years at a time to see how they're getting on and then see where they are in about 10 years time. So if you have enjoyed this experiment up to now and you're looking forward to this part, do please hit that like button down below. Please make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel. You guys seem to have loved this experiment, so do make sure to subscribe for more. There are lots of exciting experiments to come, such as the best team possible and also what would happen if every team in the top 5 leagues had no players. They are both experiments to come over the next week, so definitely do hit that subscribe button. But let's go forward now and see where they are in a couple of years time. Well, we have got a couple of years ahead, and it wasn't a case of instant success for Brackley. You can see in the Championship they still had a pretty tough time. Of course, it takes a while to sign the players, bring them in. You can see through November, December they had a good uptick, but it tailed off towards the second end. And while they did manage to come back from a 3-2 defeat in the first leg by winning 3-0 in the playoffs, they did eventually manage to beat Brentford and get back into the Premier League. They finished, I think, 4th in that Championship season, but they did manage to make it up into the Premier League again. And once more, it wasn't a case of instant success, despite everything they've got going for them and the fact that on paper they are the best club possible. They had a really patchy time of it, and I wasn't convinced they were going to stay in the Premier League. They got knocked out the FA Cup in the 5th round, knocked out the Carabao Cup in the second round to Reading, when they had a terrible start to the season until they beat Bournemouth. But fortunately they managed to win a couple of games late in the day, and if you have a look at the league table, they ended up finishing on 41 points, which was quite a decent sort of safety measure. You take 6 points off, they would have been clear by 3 still. Crew finishing bottom of the table as Spurs and Southampton and Bournemouth filled out the top 4. But they've just not been able to really turbocharge from where they were. Now they do have Neymar in charge of the club. The 62-year-old Brazilian is the manager of the team. I've never seen Neymar as a manager in FM before. If we look at their managers, Neymar's been there for less than a year. The previous guy getting sacked. Not too many familiar names down there except for old James Rodriguez, who's a 63-year-old manager of Middlesbrough at this point. But if we look at their transfer history, of course we gave them this massive transfer budget, and over the last 2 years, in their first season, they were in the Championship at this point, and they spent 392 million in the Championship and finished 4th. Jorge Alexander coming in for 83 million and playing 7 games in the Champion. Are you mad? What a waste of money. 83 million to play 7 games in the Championship. Ola Iyara coming in as well. If we have a look at him, 57 million, played 17 games. Fair enough, maybe he came in January, but he's not exactly set the world alight. I mean, that's an enormous amount of money to spend. The year after, another 143 million to try and keep them in the Premier League, which only just worked. And then they've already spent 99 million this season as well, bringing players in. I mean, it's not brilliant, is it? Neymar is trying to do his best, but if we look at that senior squad, they've got a lot of value in there, but it doesn't reflect the amount of money they spent, in my opinion. And they've got unhappy players as well, who want new contracts but probably can't afford them. He wants to leave for continental football, which isn't a surprise when they finished down in 15th. I don't think he expected that when he joined. But it's not been a stunning success so far in the first 2 years, so maybe this won't be the satisfying end we're hoping for. They're already seeing their facilities and finances get run down, reputations dropping, bank balance has dropped enormously. That has dropped by 800 million in 2 years. They've already burned through that cash. They've still got the facilities, but let's go forward another couple of years, maybe 3 years this time, and see if they've managed to do more than blow 800 million by that point. So we're 3 years further ahead, and you can see that it's still just not blowing up for them. Out at the Carabao Cup to Brighton, losing a lot of games in the Premier League. Made it to an FA Cup final, semi-final, which they lost to Southampton 2-1, and a poor end to the season as well. They did not finish in European places, and another FA Cup run to the quarterfinals, beaten by Liverpool, but another poor league season. And again, the following year, out by Man City in the Carabao Cup. Decent FA Cup runs going on, and they got into the final of the FA Cup on penalties against Bournemouth. They've taken out actually Spurs as well, two of the teams that we saw earlier finishing in the top four. Bournemouth having a shocker of a penalty shootout, and in the final they were beaten 3-0 by West Ham. So no great success for Brackley Town there. They still haven't won a major piece of silverware, or at least not that I can remember. If we look here, the most recent season, they have finished in European places, finally. I mean, this has taken some time, but 7th place finish, 11 points off the top four. The year before that, they finished 2 points outside in 8th place, and the year before that, they finished down in 12th. So again, not a great time for Brackley. I do just want a quick check. They haven't won a big competition there. That runner-up place in the FA Cup, their best ever achievement, allegedly. They never won the championship either. Technically, the Sky Bet League One is the biggest trophy they've ever won. But Nene is still in charge. 3 years, or 3.5 years at this point. He must be progressing in a way that the owners like, because he's still there. But if we look at that transfer history over the last 3 years, they haven't slowed down the spending at all. £581 million given to Neymar in his first transfer window, bringing in a lot of players for a lot of money. And then the following year he could only spend 60 before spending another 433 million. So Neymar has now spent over £1 billion as manager of Brackley, and has yet to win anything or finish in the top four despite spending £1 billion in 3 years. Neymar is probably a fraud, I would say. His name is probably getting him a long way. He's now 65. £3.8 billion worth of players spent. Most of that at Brackley. He's only had 4 managers' jobs. I actually don't know what his manager jobs have been. Brackley, he was at Liverpool and he did win trophies there, not quite as many as you might want. He was at Benfica as well. Benfica, Liverpool, a couple of years at Leicester. Only managed 3 years there before coming to Brackley. But he's having a decent time of it, but they are still moving up. It's just taken quite a while to do so. So I'm just going to jump right to the end now to see where they get to in sort of 5-7 years time, and whether we can finally see them win a major piece of silverware, even if it's just the Carabao Cup. At this point I'd take it, because this has been extremely frustrating. Well, as you can see, they have finally managed to win Premier League titles. They actually had a little period of dominance for a while. After finishing down in sort of 7th, 8th here when we left off. They did eventually make it up into the Champions League places, but it still took a while to finally break the back of the Premier League. If we start off where we left off before, obviously you can see Neymar's not in charge, but he would be in his 80s I think by this point. I can't remember exactly where we left off. If I just have a quick look. Yeah, that's where they got beaten in the FA Cup final, 3-0. So no success the following year. Made it into the Carabao Cup final, but beaten by Manchester United. Still weren't in. Oh no, they did finish in the Champions League places that time. So in the Champions League for the first time. They did make it out the group stage. 3-0 against Lokomotiv Moscow and 2-1. Lost 2-1 to Napoli in their first quarter final. And then were knocked out, after getting through, knocked out by Bayern Munich in the semi-final of the Champions League. Not a bad European debut, that one. The following year, only the Europa League to enjoy, and they did have a good run, and they actually won their first trophy. Was the Europa League, a 2-1 victory over Roma who finished with 9 men. And even then, it took a 90th minute winner against 9 men. It would have been a great night for the Brackley Town fans at the Parc des Princes. A fantastic victory. Lost the European Super Cup, back in the Champions League though, and knocked out by Real Madrid in the knockout stages. But they have won their first FA Cup finally, a 2-1 victory over Manchester United, doing the job for them. And this is where you start to see a period of sustained success. This is where they start to win the Premier League as well. But we know that they've won a few of those, so I'm not going to dwell on it. Their first Carabao Cup comes 3-1 against Liverpool. Very nice performance there. And in the Europa League, beaten in the Europa League final. But they won the FA Cup as well, so they did the treble, I think, domestic treble that year. But no Europa League to add to the trophy cabinet. Still not won a Community Shield either, but the Premier Leagues were rolling in at this point. And they did make it to a Champions League final. The greatest stage of all, but beaten 1-0 by Chelsea at the Stade de France. And then the following season, finally win a Community Shield against Spurs on penalties. It's really the Champions League we're bothered about now. And they went out in the semi-finals on away goals to Lazio. Club World Championship, the other trophy they haven't won, but beaten 2-0 by Al Nassr is a little bit embarrassing. Not brilliant, that one, but you can see their campaign's going pretty well here. Champions League, they get through the quarterfinals. Barcelona in the semis and knocked out at the semi-final stage. So still no Champions League at this point. Carabao Cup lost in the final. FA Cup, they win against Newcastle but lose 3-2. Oh, that's difficult. 2-1 up. Man sent off in the 75th minute, and then they concede 2 in 2 minutes in the last 10. Another Community Shield there though. That'll make up for it. And then Champions League, they finally win it 2-0 against Liverpool in front of 92,000 fans in Wales. Brackley Town are the champions of Europe. They've now won pretty much everything they can, including the Europa League. They won the FA Cup as well, but lost in the Champions League final. Club World Championship, they're still looking to win. Let's have a look if they did. No, beaten in the quarterfinals by Liverpool. Getting through quite late in the Champions League there to the semi-finals, but not winning it. And if we just drop down again, still waiting for another European Cup here. FA Cup in the bag, and that takes us to the modern day. But it doesn't matter, because if you look at their competition history, the 60s were their decade. 2068 champions of Europe, runner-up 3 times in that decade as well. So 4 Champions League final appearances, 8 Premier League titles in the space of 9 years. Not bad going. 5 FA Cups. The 60s were very much the Brackley Town era. They absolutely dominated English football, winning 5 titles in a row as well. 7 in 8, which is not bad, breaking Chelsea's dominance of the league. Really good to end this experiment on a high, and they did finally manage to do it. I want to have a quick check on Neymar though, because I feel sorry. He had 5 years in the job and he was sacked 2059. So he was sacked just as they hit their golden era. I feel bad for Neymar. He built them up into that position, spending billions of pounds along the way, but wasn't able to do it. Their best 11, you can see here, they had a goalkeeper who played 834 games for them. The Portuguese man played over 200 games for his country, a £60 million signing. Who else have they got in here? Top record goal scorer is this guy, Idovan Barosh, with 219 and 566. The Englishman, 33 goals for his country as well. He had a good time. Came through as a youth graduate as well. That's what you want to see. Club record goal scorer is one of their own. That's a wonderful story. 163 for Jairo Ruiz as well. Still playing now at Zebra. Or Juventus, sold for 122 million, signed for 125. But that is going to be it for this experiment. I hope you guys did enjoy this one. Do drop a like down below if you did. Make sure you do subscribe for the next experiment, which will be out probably tomorrow. But until next time, see ya.